Hi everyone, I'm Zach.
And I'm Tahlia.
Welcome to our Real Talk Spiritual Podcast. We are two psychic mediums who have joined forces to help heal the collective one piece at a time. If you're new, thanks for joining, and if you're returning, welcome back. We acknowledge that we are recording on Ghana country today, and this is piece number 6, where we talk about past life regressions. So today's episode is going to be really exciting. We've decided to take a bit of a different pace and slow it down a little bit more. We're going to have a shorter episode, but we're going to be talking about one kind of really in-depth topic, and that is the past life regressions. This is the first part in like a 2-part series where I actually took Tahlia under a past life regression, and we just cannot wait to share with you Tahlia's experience.
That's right. We know you guys love Storytime episodes, and we love telling stories about our lives because we just we say this to each other every day. We can't believe that this is our life and this stuff happens to us on the daily. So yeah, we're very excited to share this story with you. It is literally a personal experience of mine. I saw Zach as a client and he went through a past life regression with me. We actually visited 2 of my past lives, which is why we're going to split this into 2 episodes, because it's just going to be far too much to put in one episode. And I was just so addicted. I was like, take me to another past life, because you don't normally do that, do you?
No.
In one session.
Yeah. I don't normally do 2 in one session, which is why the second one was a little shorter. But just for anyone that doesn't really know what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Past life regression, that kind of sounds really abstract and weird, right?
Right. Let's define it.
Essentially a past life regression is being put under a semi-hypnotic state where you are guided by your archangels and guardians, and you're able to see your past lives and your experiences in a past life and take the learnings from that and bring it into the present. So it's a really specialized kind of approach to spiritual healing, and it really is something that requires a lot of training and a lot of skill to make sure it's done safely, because we don't want to be taking people through past lives where they see something really traumatic and bring that trauma into the present. It's just about the learnings. Now, before we begin talking about Tahlia's direct experience, I just wanted to give a bit of a background behind the training and the requirements of a past life regression. This is something that I learned the skill in as part of my Reiki Master's qualification and ongoing workshops that I've attended. Past life regression is not something that all spiritual practitioners will specialize in and provide. It is more of a niche approach to helping people see past their past issues and past, traumas, but in a really healthy way with a lot of perspective.
Yeah, you certainly want it to be in a completely controlled environment. Where everyone feels comfortable.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you're at risk of inviting some bad kind of energy in, aren't you?
Yeah.
When you're in that level of astral travel, would you say?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I guess
you want to be high vibing.
Definite high vibe, and to make it a clean process, if you like, because from a practitioner's point of view, it is a process and it needs to have really solid spiritual hygiene. So to make it a clean process, what we do is call on archangels, and I start with the visualization exercise. Now, Tahlia is really interesting, because Tahlia told me that she couldn't necessarily visualize everything as I could, but she could feel it. So it's really important that the client, especially in this case, was able to feel that protection and feel being guided by an archangel. The process that I use is basically calling down an archangel, and Tahlia will then visualize holding their hand, and then the archangel essentially will walk them through a path which takes them through a door, which takes them into a lifetime of their past life. And through that, it's like Tahlia is seeing everything from the third person. So it's like watching a movie, And sometimes you're getting really, really invested in the movie and you can feel the emotions of that movie, but you realize that's not yourself. And you have what we call like a dissonance from what's happening. It's not actually happening to you right now. It's almost like you're seeing it happen to another person, but you're taking on the learnings from that.
Yeah, and a really good thing that you did throughout the whole session was you kept referring to what we were seeing as a movie, so it kept me distanced enough, even though I was still going through the emotions as if I was there. I don't know if that's just because we probably actually haven't mentioned this. What Zach was talking about before with he has very strong clairvoyant abilities, and so he could see in great detail like the coloured flowers in a distant bush, you know, in the background. Whereas my psychic abilities are claircognizance and clairsentience, which is, one is just an inner knowing that I cannot explain how I know these things. I just know them. And the claircognizance is, clairsentience is the feeling.
Yeah, so clairsentience is the feeling,
so
and
that's like
claircognizance is the knowing.
Yeah, that's right. So that's like the empath kind of abilities, I suppose. So I'm feeling everything that I'm watching in these past lives as if I was the actual person in the past life, which I was at some stage, but I was actually reliving it.
Awesome. And I suppose from my perspective, it's always amazing to be taken on a journey with a client, or, you know, with Tahlia in this example, because really what I try and do is have the person in the past life regression lead as much as possible. Sometimes it's not always possible, and I might need to prompt based on the experiences that they're telling me that they're going through. But a lot of the times it's about the person always being in control, always guiding I suppose the vision or the feelings of what they're seeing, and feeling and like Tahlia said, bringing it back to that sense of comfort with watching it as a movie, or reminding them that the archangel's there holding their hand, walking them along each step, so that they can take on the learnings. So just really wanted to preface this episode with a bit of that, because this isn't just something that we can jump straight into, and it does take a lot of skill and a lot of practice to refine it. But,
so in other words, don't try this at home.
Basically, yeah. And I just wanted to emphasize that, just because we might be talking a little casually, and like we tend to be pretty relaxed in the podcast.
Yeah, we do.
But there are some things where we just kind of need to emphasize, I do not try this at home.
Yeah.
Please speak to a professional at all times when it comes to this kind of stuff. Okay, so jumping straight into Tahlia's experience now. This past life regression was pretty out of this world, wasn't it, Tahlia?
It was literally out of this world. So one of my past lives, I discovered that I was a Pleiadean alien?
Yeah,
I don't know how to explain
definitely
it.
was,
On some planet that, well, I suppose the planet would have been called Pleiadean, but, that doesn't exist anymore. So my experience, let's just go back. So there was a selection of doors that had all different colours. And so Zach said to me, like, which door would you like to enter? So I was just kind of intuitively picking the colour that stood out to me on that day the most. And so I picked this colour door, walked through, and then before I entered the actual experience, I met my archangel. So that was Archangel Gabriel, right, from memory. I need to re-listen to the recording. We recorded this whole session, so I'm so excited to listen back and relive it. But Archangel Gabriel was there with me for this one. And then we stepped through this door, and immediately I feel like I'm floating, like gravity kind of doesn't exist. It felt like flying. I didn't know where I was yet. I just felt like I was floating, and Zach was asking me, what do you see? What's going on?
Yeah.
And I was just like, I feel light.
And it's like, as soon as you were talking, I could immediately see what you were talking about. And so I was tapped in visually seeing exactly what you were talking about.
Yeah.
And it was so awesome. It was like such a trippy experience. Yeah.
Yeah, and so Zach like prompted me and he was like, you know, you can see the moon and it's very close to you, much closer than, you know, we're used to. And then sort of he's asking a lot of prompting questions, like what do you feel? Are you alone? Is there other energies around you? All these kinds of basically creating a visual of the scene. So you know, I'm imagining that I'm this creature, I suppose I'll say, that's on this planet in somewhere in space in the greater galaxy. The moon is right there, and I can just sense that there's heaps and heaps and heaps of other similar creatures around me living on this planet.
You described that feeling, you could almost like you were like telepathically vibrating is how you kind of described it.
Oh, that's right, I did, yeah. Because Zach asked me, like, who is someone talking to you? Like, what are people saying? And I was like, there's no words being spoken, but telepathically we were all connected and in constant communication. So it's quite a bizarre thing that we tapped into, because obviously this is something we've never experienced before. And I don't know what that feels like. I've never tapped into the whole globe telepathically. So these are the things that are coming through. It's as if I'm able to describe it exactly as it would have been if that's what I was experiencing. So that was really, really cool.
Yeah. And I guess in your past life regression, when you were having a look at this planet that you were on, a lot of emotions, I suppose, started to come up for you as well, didn't they?
Oh, a lot of emotions.
Yeah. Did you want to talk about your experience with that?
Yeah. So I can't quite remember how we got to it, but there was just this like sense of impending doom. And Zach's asking me, like, is it danger to you? Is it to the planet? Like, what's going on? And I'm telling him, you know, I don't necessarily feel like I'm being attacked or anything, but this sense of doom was planetary focused. So it was like a necessary sacrifice that we had to, the planet this civilization we're all living on had to be destroyed. And once we'd acknowledged that, I literally felt the emotions, like I was crying. So I'm in a hypnotic state. And did you have your eyes open or closed?
I fluctuated between being open and being closed.
So you kind of do both.
Yeah.
So I had my eyes closed like the whole time.
Yeah.
I had a crystal that I was holding onto, sitting in a chair. And so I don't open my eyes until Zach kind of wakes me up at the end of it. Not that I wasn't awake, but you know what I mean, like breaks the sort of hypnotic connection. So it's like being totally conscious and aware, and we're in constant communication, but you're in a very deep meditative state. So that was also something that I've not experienced before, because it's different to just meditating or astral travel on your own. So it was like, this planet had been destroyed. We were all still living as energies, but I felt it's such a difficult thing to describe. It's like the planet was a living thing, and because we were all telepathically connected, it's like if one living thing died, we all felt that. So as the planet died, like all of us were just feeling this huge pain and emotion that like your home.
Yeah, like part of you has...
Yeah, part of us had been hurt and was dying, yeah. So it was really intense. So yeah, I'm with my eyes closed in this meditative state, tears are streaming down my face, and we're just having this conversation about what we're experiencing. It was wild. Yeah,
and I think some of the learnings that probably came out of that was a little bit about society, and I think, you know, the call to maintain that connection again, because from other planets, right, from other alien species, whether or not you believe that's totally okay.
Yes.
But from other alien species, there is that connectedness and togetherness, and it kind of brought home to me, from an observer of your situation, the need to maintain that connection and unity with one another as human beings in order to have power in that collective kind of state. Yeah.
I definitely agree with that. It felt like this connection that all of us had living on this planet was very intense, and that would be carried over into other lifetimes. So, you know, to this one where we're having a human experience right now, I felt that I would be searching for my sort of kin from this lifetime here, because there'll be others that have been, you know, reincarnated or in new lifetimes living with me here. And so, do you remember how many I thought there was?
I saw lots of these Pleiadean energies.
Yeah.
And because you described them as them being very, very tall, and the way I saw your past life regression was a lot of tall, skinny aliens around you, and then you being a little baby alien.
Yeah, I felt little. I was like imagine an animated cartoon, like those really funny looking characters with little tiny arms and legs, and they're just like this round ball. So I felt like that was me, just like hopping around, floating in this planet. And yeah, I did feel little compared to the others.
And that could represent how many lifetimes you've had. You know, there could be, your first lifetime maybe was as a Pleiadean alien, basically. Yeah. And from then you come into maybe another lifetime before that, or before that, or before that.
Yeah, so like I said, there'll probably be more episodes on a lot more parts on this, because I've got 5 other past lives to investigate. Yeah. So we'll be coming back when I've had a chance to do that. And
initially I thought, like in the past life regression, that a lot of you are Atlantean, the lost city of Atlantis, all of that kind of history would come back to you from your past lives with that. But it hasn't come up yet.
Not yet, but I'm sure it's there somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. I just think it was really important that you kind of were able to experience the learnings from these last 2 lifetimes.
Yeah. So things that I was actually going through in my personal life, I suppose, is probably a reason why certain coloured doors stood out to me that day, because it was like it's not so much, even though I wanted to find my Atlantean roots, because I've been getting constant signs and messages to dig deeper and to remember that lifetime, that wasn't one of the ones that I urgently needed like the lesson on, even though, I know it's there and I'll get to it. But these ones came through, and the lessons that were attached to them like applied to sort of things that I was learning in this lifetime. So again, it's just the way that spirit works, and divine orchestration reveals itself in divine timing. So
definitely,
it's cool.
So with your alien experience as a Pleiadean, you were a little baby there was like at least like hundreds around you on this massive planet. Do you remember anything about like how you wound up, how that past life was finishing, or like your...
So like I said earlier, there was this sense of sacrifice and this sort of impending doom that we were going to lose our home, and this planet that was living had to die so that new life could be created. And it was a real sense of purpose. It was like a calling, and like it was just like we had to do this for the greater good, for like the greater collective. And so we accepted that this was a necessary sacrifice, and that it was the right thing to do. And so that helped us kind of move on, even though you know, it was a very like emotional loss.
Because I guess you hadn't really, because like that sense of love and that sense of feeling connected to everyone and the land.
Yes.
Try and characterize that for our listeners.
I remember, I forgot about that till you just mentioned it. And then I remember in the state that I was in, just talking about love, saying all I felt was love. And now I can't quite remember. Do you remember what I said?
You were kind of saying that from my recollection.
I just felt love.
Love. And it was like you were becoming quite emotional because it's like you hadn't felt love so palpable, so all-encompassing, so like you were part of the world, but also part of each other, but also your own entity.
Yeah.
At the same time. And it was quite an overwhelmingly positive experience for you because you were like, we are all one, we are all connected, we are all each other, we are all
Yeah, I do
together.
remember saying that. So those elements were like existed at the start when we were all these alien beings, and they still exist now because those energies have carried over, even though we are completely different, the planet we live on is completely different. This is just another example of how we are eternal, we are souls, those energies live on. And even connections that we have with other energies, you know, remain linked into future lifetimes. So it was this almost like a sense of family. And there was this sort of understanding that there was a certain few, I think 6 from memory, that I needed to meet this lifetime. And I kind of...
That's right.
Yeah, do you remember now?
Yeah.
And so Zach was like asking me if I knew who they were, have I identified any yet? And I was pretty certain from what was coming to me in the moment, and what my senses were sort of telling me was I could identify 3 that I've met, and so that means there's 3 more that I've yet to align with in this lifetime.
Which is really exciting.
Yeah.
I suppose kind of paves the way for you that, you know, you've got some really interesting moves happening in your life coming up. And you just never know who you're going to meet that's going to have that same feeling that resonates with that Pleiadean lifetime that you have.
Yeah, and it feels like a soulmate connection when I say these family energies that I'm connecting with in this lifetime. They're very much soulmate connections.
So exciting. So guys, I really hope that you enjoyed part 1 of piece 6, jumping into the past life regressions.
Yeah, and that was one of my 7 past lives. So
yes,
wasn't
we've got
it?
plenty more to
So
explore.
there'll be like, you know, at least 7 parts probably to this episode as, you know, time goes on.
Lovely. Well, thanks again for watching, guys. Remember just to join our Facebook group, the Inspired Guidance Facebook group you just give us a search and you can add yourself. That'd be really cool. Our links to our websites and social media are all in the show notes below. But if you want to give Tahlia or myself a follow, we're at Inspired Inner Healing on social media, and
mine's Atlantean Healing and Guidance.
Beautiful.
So you can see how we came up with the name of the podcast.
Yeah, Inspired Guidance.
Inspired Guidance,
Kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Really lastly, every Thursday at 8 p.m. Australian Central Standard Time, we launch our new episode. So if it's almost Thursday and when you're listening to this, a new episode's coming out tonight. So we'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks.
Okay, bye.